to do today. And then we have another speaker, then a drawing, another speaker, then a drawing, another speaker, then we're done. And so it's a quick, fast-paced program, and make sure to take notes on the Home Guard Home Warranty notepad there if you have questions throughout. But I want to start with introducing our very first educator today. And I didn't mention, I'm Betsy with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm happy to be here. Don Prescott is our very first educator. Don primarily works with people planning for retirement and those wanting to stay retired. He enjoys helping them pursue and maintain a point in their lives where working is optional. That was the first time I heard that at his ribbon cutting. What I enjoy most about financial services is getting to know the families I serve, helping them shape a plan to strive for what they value most, and watching it unfold, Don shared. I enjoyed listening to my clients' personal stories and backgrounds so that I can understand where my clients have come from, and this helps in shaping our direction forward. Don also enjoys teaching his clients so they understand how their investments and strategies work for them. His goals for the clients he serves include giving them tools so they feel comfortable focusing on the outcomes that are most important to them. He works in close conjunction with each of his client CPAs, attorneys, and other professionals to bring a holistic approach to all of their wealth management. As a certified financial planner practitioner, Don holds one of the most respected financial planning credentials and the recognized standard of excellence in personal financial planning. He adheres to the CFP Board Code of Ethics for integrity, objectivity, competence, fairness, confidentiality, professionalism, and diligence. He's also accredited asset management specialist who has completed a course studying encompassing investments, insurance, tax, retirement, and estate planning issues. And Don might be doing some workshops upcoming he was sharing with us with estate planning, which is exciting. Don has more than 20 years of financial industry experience, joined Raymond James in March of 2022. He's excited to partner with Raymond James because I'll have the tools to serve my clients better. Previously in his career, he was a financial advisor at Edward Jones. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Finance from Oral Roberts University. He was born in Indiana, grew up in Southern and Northern California, we won't hold that against you, and built his financial services career in Southern Oregon, where he lived with his wife, Brooke. They have 6 children, twins Adela and Bria, Alyssa, Elena, Isaiah, and Sienna. In his free time, Don enjoys family activities, cycling. Do you have free time? Family activities, cycling, mountain biking, hiking, snowboarding, traveling, and driving classic cars. Put your hands together for Don Prescott.
Thanks, that was a nice introduction. Appreciate that. So my style is more Socratic, so we want this to be interactive, so a lot of questions are fun. As you can imagine, being a certified financial planner and having 6 children, I've done a little research on college planning, okay? Just a little bit. So we'll talk a little bit about that. You know, when I see everybody here at 8:30 on a Saturday morning, I think a commitment, which made me think of this story. We just recently had the Super Bowl. The guy is at the 50-yard line. The game's about to start. Old man sits next to him, and you notice that the seat next to the old man is empty. And he's thinking, gosh, you know, this is a phenomenal game. Why is there a seat open next to this older gentleman? So he asks the guy, he says, what's the deal? And he said, yeah, you know, for 25 years, my wife and I haven't missed a game together. And she recently passed away. So I'm here by myself. And so he's thinking about this old man. He's like, gosh, there's nobody in his life that would fill that seat. No friend, no neighbor, no family member. And it's just kind of nagging at him. And he's what is? So he has to ask the guy, why didn't you bring anyone? And the old man looks at him and he says, well, they're all at the funeral. So, commitments, okay? So, I appreciate you being committed to today. So we're going to talk a little bit about 529 plans, which is just a section of the code, or college accounts. We're going to talk a little bit about some new legislation, Secure Act 2.0, that Congress recently passed, It goes into effect in January of 2024. So we've got some updated information about 529 plans. So thinking about college accounts or 529 plans, this is one of the only assets that you can get out of your estate for estate tax purposes, which we'll talk a little bit about, and still control the asset. So who here knows the current annual lifetime gift exclusion? Any guesses on how much you can give away with while you're alive, or how much you can die with tax-free, where the government's not going to take a bite out of it?
Is that $10,000?
So close. So that used to be the annual gift tax amount, and they've increased it for inflation. So presently it's about $17,000 a year is what you can give away as an annual gift tax. Now, so a husband and wife, okay, they can give, you know, $34,000 to one person, each giving 17 and 17. Okay. So the estate tax, okay, that's the big number. Okay. The current amount that you can die with and pass on is now $12.06 million. Okay, so a married couple can give away $24 million, and the federal government's not going to take a bite out of it. Okay. Now, I was in Oregon as a resident. I'm now an Arizona resident. We moved here in 2021 after spending over a decade visiting here and loving it. But in Oregon, they never increased the state estate tax. So back in Oregon, they're still set at $1 million. So if you die in Oregon with over $1 million, the state, they're going to take a bite out of it, somewhere between 8 and 11%. It's a marginal tax rate that goes up. Okay, but at the federal level, we can give $12 million. Now, the way that $12 million works is that's lifetime gifts, like during your life, or at death. So that annual gift tax exclusion of $17,000, can we give more than $17,000? This is class participation. Yeah. So under the current law, if you give more than $17,000, you have to fill out what's called a gift tax. What's it called? A gift tax return. Okay. So you said, okay, I gave $20,000. I'm allowed to give $17,000 without having to file a gift tax return. But what happens with that $3,000? Any guesses? Okay, you gave $3,000 over the annual limit.
Taxable.
So, and is it taxable to the giver or the receiver?
Yes.
It's taxable to the giver. The person receiving the gift is not paying taxes. So I said the lifetime gift tax exclusion was $12 million, right? So you give $3,000 over. So what happens with that is, imagine a $12 million bank over here, and you just gave $3,000 over. So your CPA or your tax preparer is going to file a special gift tax return to say, hey, Joe gave $3,000 over the excluded amount. So that $3,000 is now going to subtract from the $12 million. So you think that's a big deal? No big deal. Okay. So the moral of the story is, you can give whatever you want. You can give more than $17,000, but just realize that if you give more than $17,000, it's going to subtract from this pretend bank account of $12 million. Okay. So the rule is $12 million during life or at death, but not both. Okay. So that's important. Now, what does all that mean for college accounts? Is when you establish a college account, you're the owner and you're choosing a beneficiary. Okay, so let's say you've got a grandchild and you're saying, okay, I'm gonna give $17,000 to establish this college fund for my newborn grandbaby. Okay, And so that newborn grandbaby is now the beneficiary of this college account. So this college account is going to grow tax-free. Who doesn't like tax-free growth? Okay. That $17,000 that you give is part of that $17,000. You don't have to file a gift tax return. Now 529 plans have a separate rule that says, hey, you can super fund this. You can do 5 years of donations or growth, which 17,000 times 5 is $85,000. So let's say you got this grandkid. You just love, this is your first grandkid. And you say, you know what, we're going to set them up. They're going to Harvard. Harvard's going to be expensive in 20 years. I want to super fund it. So theoretically, you could fund it with $85,000, which is 5 years of $17,000. The caveat here is you can't add to it for 5 years, okay? So the grandparents, they super funded $85,000. Mom and dad are happy. Their newborn baby just got $85,000 in a college account that's going to grow tax-free, okay? Now, can other people add to it? Any guesses?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, what happens, what are the big questions that people have is, you know, and we'll make a list just for fun. Why wouldn't we want to do a college account? Like, what do you think the
Taxes?
taxes on,
Taxes when you withdraw it,
okay,
when
if,
you use it. If,
Yeah.
yeah.
and the if is,
They don't go to college.
what if they don't go, right? I mean, that's the big thing. Like, what grandparent wants to throw $85,000 in an account for this newborn baby? We don't know if they're going to go to college. And remember, I said 529 plans are one of the only tools where you can get $85,000 out of your estate and still control it. Grandparents are still the owner. Guess what? They can change the beneficiary.
Sure.
Grandbaby A is on the wrong path. Grandbaby B is a stellar student. Guess what? We're changing the beneficiary. Grandparents have that ability. Did you know that grandparents could also make themselves the beneficiary? Why would that be important? Any guesses?
So you can get the money back if they don't go.
Yeah, so what do you think grandparents would do with the, you know, you got to use it on the money has to be spent at an accredited higher education institution. Well, how's that going to help the grandparents?
Take art classes.
Yeah, maybe art class. How about that culinary cooking class in Italy that grandma always wanted to go to? It's going to cover everything but the plane ticket over there. Okay. How about the golf school in Virginia that grandpa wanted to do? Okay. So there's some real creative ways that you can address those beneficiaries. Okay. So I want to briefly talk about Secure Act 2.0. So this is passed in Congress a little over a year ago. It takes into effect January 1, 2024. And what it does is it says if there's leftover money in the college account, you can now roll it over into a Roth IRA for that beneficiary. Okay, so a Roth IRA, everyone by now knows what a Roth IRA is, right? It's an account, it's going to grow tax-free. Okay, it's a retirement account. Can you imagine a 20-year-old kid getting a Roth IRA at 20 and the compounding growth on what you think that's going to be worth at 60? That's huge. Now, it comes with some strings, and I don't expect you to remember all of those. That's why I included some information in the packet. But here's how it works. The college account has to be in existence for 15 years in order for you to roll it to a Roth. That's rule number one. The contributions in there have to be at least 5 years old. So 15 years and 5, remember that, okay? The third rule, Congress, you know, they like their little details, okay? The third rule is the beneficiary, adult child, let's say at this point in time, they have to be able to fund a Roth IRA. And when I say that, I mean they have to have earned income. Okay, not everybody can fund a Roth IRA. If you only make $2,000 a year, then you can fund a Roth with $2,000. Okay, so like, let's say your grandchild works in your business and makes a couple thousand and they're 10, well, they can fund a Roth IRA. It applies in converting the 529 to the Roth. They have to have earned income. How about the income limitation? If you're a single filer, normally you can't fund a Roth IRA if you make over $153,000. That rule does not apply for converting 529 assets into Roth assets. Okay, so those are the main things. So for that grandparent that wants to establish something and do something for that grandkid, to me the 529 plans are a good way to get the money out of the estate. You still get to control it, and now there's a lot of uses for those monies where before you couldn't. Now, the big rule that people don't often think about is, well, there is a 10% penalty if you don't use it for higher education. But that's a 10% penalty on the earnings, not the principal that you put in. If you fund it with $85,000 and it grows to 100, well, you're only paying a penalty on the growth. Okay, so keep that in mind. The other two big changes to 529 plans is now the money can be used for K through 12 expenses up to $10,000 a year, and we can use 529 monies to pay off $10,000 in student loan debt. Okay, so there's a lot of features with the 529. Think of it as an empty bucket, and you can put what you want in the bucket in terms of how we invest the money. Okay, I'm coming up on my 5 minutes. Questions about 529 plans, and then we'll have question and answer at the very end too. Yes?
What you just said about K through 12, so you could use a 529 to fund a parochial school?
Correct. $10,000 a year. And then the trick is...
Per kid.
Per kid, that's right. And then the challenge is we want to make sure there's enough time for tax-free growth. So like I get calls from parents saying, hey, I want to do a 529, but I'm going to need the money a year from now to pay for private school. Now, we're probably not going to get, you know, a compounded growth tax-free. So it's, in my opinion, it's really designed for those babies. You know, let's start setting it up now so that when they go to a private school, we've got another tool to use. Good question. Any other questions? Okay, I'm here obviously all morning. There is a feedback form in your packet, and that's used for all the professionals here. If you want us to follow up with you, if you want to be invited to other events, if you have ideas to make today better, we want to hear from you. All right, thank you.
Awesome, you had 18 seconds to talk. I think Don is the first educator ever to not get the buzzer. See if you can beat that, Mark. Our next, thank you, Don, well done. Our next educator